What's good, family? I go by the name Pushy Push. You can also catch me on TikTok at pushy.push. I want to jump right into the subject right now. So the subject is these coins right here. And I'm asking a question. Was Rome a part of the United States, or was there a United States of Rome? And I'm asking that because this coin right here sits out of date. When you look at it, it says US 500 and it's dated J 783. That J, some might call that a 1, but when you look closely at it, it is actually a J. And it has the Roman reef going around the US, and it has Justilia on the side. So when I found this coin, it made me ask, like, wow, did the United States exist before 1776? And when I look at the reef around this is what drew me to say, man, was the United States a part of Rome? So let's compare it. Here's a reef that's going around a helmet, and this is just showing that this is Roman right here, that the reef is Roman. And when we go to the United Nations, it's the exact thing, same thing, except it's the reef going around the world. And I'm asking, is this the United States of Rome? Like, was the world underneath states of Rome? Was this bigger than what history has taught us? So when we're looking at this coin right here, it sits out of date. J783, a US 500 coin. The United States is supposed to have been made or like put together in 1776. So this is what we're going to investigate as we go further. The J on the coin, to me, it stands for Justinian. There are other coins out there where they have eyes on it, and that could easily mean Isis. And there's coins with J's on it, and that could definitely mean Jesus. But in this in particular piece right here, because it has the Roman reef on it, we're going to have to look at Justinian at this certain time period, because that is dating 783, and Justinian is existing around the 500s. So it says Justinian the First, also known as Justinian the Great, was the Roman emperor or the Eastern Roman emperor from 527 to 565. So I'm comparing that to this right here, to the coin. And this is how I get the J to justice or Justinian. So even that J up there, it's just the same J, it's like a smaller case J. But the Justilia name comes from Justinian, and that whole wreath right there is Roman. So what I'm asking is all of this right here a part of Rome, the United States of Rome. And this would change up a lot of history because when you look at these buildings right here, a lot of people call these Tartarian buildings, and Rome and Tartaria could have possibly existed at the same time. When you look at them here in America, the same style of buildings exist. And I'm asking, did Rome have a piece of American history? And somewhere it's blocked out. I've seen cases where they have used Roman law inside of court cases, and it always made me wonder, like, wow, how do we use Roman law if Rome was so long ago destroyed, and its own providence. But if the United States is a part of Rome, then I can understand why we would use Roman laws. So it says right here, the fall of the Western Roman Empire. This is my question. When did Rome fall? It says 776 AD is when Rome had fell, the western part of Rome. Right here, Justinian is the emperor of the Eastern Roman half. When we look here, it says 1453, Byzantine Empire. So Rome was destroyed or finished out in 1453. It says the eastern half of Rome, which survived for 1,000 years after the western half crumbled in various feudal kingdoms, and which fell to the Ottoman Turks' onslaught in 1453. So this empire supposedly had fell in 1453. Here's a great one right here. Rome was said to have fell in 1453, yet you have Napoleon ruling in the 1800s. And I'm trying to understand this. Like it says, when did Napoleon rule Rome? And it says 1805 to 1814. The last piece that we saw, let's go back, said Rome ended in 1453. So how do you have Rome continuing on into the 1800s? And that's where this confusion starts to come into play. Um, it says, was Napoleon the emperor of Rome? And it says, yes, he referred to himself as the emperor of the French, and he's the king of Italy. That coin said J783, and you find Napoleon ruling what would be Rome in the 1800s. Now, if you took away that 1,000 years, you took away that 1,000 years, and you let it stand at 800, then I can understand how Napoleon could rule, you know, Rome. But if Rome ended in the 1400s, I don't understand how it can exist in the 1800s. And that makes me wonder, have they messed with time or altered history to some degree? Another question I had, the Louisiana Purchase. It says that the Napoleonic France acquired it um, October 1st, 1800. If Napoleon is the emperor of Rome and the United States sold it to Napoleon in the 1800s, would that at that moment make Louisiana a part of Rome, since Napoleon is saying that he is the emperor of Rome? And that brings us back to right here, the coin. The coin is dated J783. How can you have the United States in the year 783 and have Napoleon ruling in the 1800s? So there's an issue with the timeline. Even if it seems vague, there's still some type of issue with the timeline, because 1776 hasn't happened yet, as far as this coin right here is concerned. Here's another coin. Same thing, Justilia. It's a $5 US. So they made several of these coins, and you can see the J right there, real good. 783, J783, Justinian 783. That is what's going on with our history. They have removed 1,000 years. So we look at this coin right here. This is interesting because the date can confuse you. You know, they say Rome ended in the 1400s. And on this coin right here to the left, it says Roma, Roma. And the date, it can either say 1586 or it can say I-586. And that still messes with the timeline, because if Rome ended in the 1400s, how do you get Rome continuing into the 1500s? And now with Napoleon in the 1800s. Do you see what I'm saying? But if that's an I right there, then this coin would be 586. So this would be right about the, say, the same time as Justinian also. So we're going to compare this just a little bit. I want you to look at this. It says 1597, or either it says I-597. Now what's interesting about this is the 1 behind the 7. That's what's interesting, because you can clearly see that they're two different fonts. So for me, that is a I 597. So the year 597, or Isis 597. And you can see that's clearly a 1 right there. So when we go back and we look at this coin, the date on it, does it say 1586 or does it say I-586? So there's that's clearly a 1,000-year problem right there. This almanac, it's a great example of how we can take the letter I and mistake it for a 1. So here's the almanac right here. And if you look, it says I, and then there's a period in front of the I. 791 maybe, because there's an I literally behind the 9. So you really don't know what you're looking at right here. But clearly, I will give it 791, but I'm really feeling like, it's really saying 79. So that would be crazy if this was the year 79. But clearly it is not the 1700s because of that period. So even if they wanted to be artistic, this would be 791 with the I right there. And that is part of the 1,000 years that we're talking about. Someone has basically took that I and turned it into a 1. So when we get back here to Roma on the coin, this right here would be I 586. 586. So when we get down right here, this is the Holy Roman Empire, Maria of Austria, and then it's dated 1528 to 1603. Rome's supposed to have ended in the 1400s. So either those are I's, or either somebody has purposely went and misdated everything to where this date should be 528 to 603. That's how delicate it is with this subject. This right here is a big eye opener besides the eye on the coin. It says US 500, but right above is showing the Congress July 4th. Does that say I 776 or 1776? Right underneath that I is another I, a big I. So is this possibly 776? And that is the point that I'm making when I say, did they add 1,000 years? Was the United States a part of Rome? Uh, and this is part of this reset that they've done, to where they've managed to gather up all the books, gather up all the coins. Like a lot of these coins right here are coming from auctions. Like people's had them in their collection for a long time. When I go back and I look at this, I personally feel like we're in like 1023 based off the Gregorian calendar and them only having 1,000 years of rule. I feel like Rome fell around about the 600s, like all of Rome. And then I think Rome becomes incorporated And that is what we're looking at here. Rome becomes incorporated, or now it's the United States alone by itself. You know, I do think that it's a part of America somewhere in some distant past. Uh, I have not seen maps that declare this area Rome. I've seen it declare other things, but I have only seen these coins right here. And this is the beginning of an eye opener of what the United States could have been like. I don't think the images that we see in the 1500s are true images. I think the images that we see are fake. And this is the reason why we have to stay vigilant, is because a lot of history is like erased. It's the dates are totally wrong. And I can understand this right here. They don't want us to know our past, to know where we come from, or the things that we did. They don't want us to know any of these things. So this is the reason why they go to such measures to hide everything. I mean, this is huge. United States, J783 right there. You can't argue that right there. So I believe the United States um, is outdated in the wrong time period. It should say 1000 instead of 2000. So I'm going to let that stand right there, and until the next time, family. Thank you.